So hey guys, today we're going to just talk about the issues with Pendulum. So Pendulum, yeah, we can break down the issues pretty quick, pretty simple. And there's some archetypes that like really suffer from this, but essentially, Pendulum, well, no one's playing this card, but Pendulum will require you to run like 4 to 5 engine cards, like to do like your combos for the most part, and to even have like playable. Some decks require about that much. So it's like 3, 4, or just like 4 or 5. That's what we're looking at. So one of those, Dynamis, yep. If we go play like Dynamis, Amorphage, or anything like that, like Cleafort, that's how many cards you need to do like a combo. So specifically for Cleafort, in case you guys are wondering, I'm pretty sure I've tested this before, yeah. So it requires you like literally, I believe, 5 cards to summon towers. Like you need to open 5 plea cards to just dead ass make towers turn 1. And that's it. Yep. And if you don't make towers, what exactly can you do? Activate Recreate Pass. But is this even good? No. Just for example, right now, Snake Eyes exists. Tell me right now. If a monster is normal or flip side and is a level 4 or lower monster, negate its effects until the end of this turn. Snake Eyes. I guess this works against Snake Eyes a little bit, but they can still Link Summon. And then after they start like Link Summoning, they're playing for pretty free because of this, right? If it is normal summoned, right? Oh, that means if it is special summoned, it doesn't do anything. Interesting. So let's say we normal summon literally anything. Or activate Original Sin. Okay. That's it. None of this effect applies. It does nothing. Cool. And in case you're wondering, same thing with Sprite. The normal summon you do in Sprite literally it doesn't matter. Cool. It's just like a level 2 monster. Normal summon Maxi. Cool. Maxi is now negated. Epic. Anyways, I'll do my full combo now uninterrupted because this card does literally nothing. Oh, and just in case you're wondering, yes, that is the only piece of interaction you have in this whole deck. The rest of this does nothing. Monsters here, like your clean monsters, become like mini towers. Kind of. They're only unaffected by spell trap effects. They're still affected by monster effects, so that's cool. And also by battle. Their attack can increase a little bit. And since they're negated, they'll get their full attack, because when they're normal summoned, their attack actually lowers a bit, right? So this would go from 1800 to like 2700. Still affected by monsters though, so whatever. And then this, add up to 3 face-up cleaving pendulum monsters from your extra deck to your hand. Well, that doesn't quite get you anywhere, does it? Oh, and then this, you get extra normal summon, and your normal summons of clean monsters cannot be negated, but I mean, your pendulum summons sure can. So I don't really see the point of this card, exactly, to an extent, right? Like, I mean, I kinda get it, but at the same time, it's not gonna get you anywhere, right? So realistically, you're either going to Towers Pass, or you're going to, like, Recreate Pass, or if you're really lucky, a combination of both. And it might just not do anything at all. Oh, just to throw that out there, Unchained. Yeah. Unchained also doesn't care. It's kind of like a Link deck, and the monsters are level 3, or they don't even have on-field effects if they're higher level. Like, Shervara doesn't have an on-field effect. Epic. Your deck do nothing. Cool. Don't forget, of course, just to have a playable hand, you need to open like 4 or 5 Glees. And that sums up like a lot of these archetypes just randomly, you need to draw that many cards. And like for the more generic ones that abuse like Electromite, Selene, Promethean Princess to loop Electromite, Astrograph that gets looped by Electromite, Starving Venom to copy Electromite effect to loop Astrograph again, Sea Atlantis, which can just be used to once again loop Electromite. All of this just gives you like extra hand cards for the most part. That doesn't really do much. Like, for example, you might see Chronograph get activated like a lot, right? I believe it was Chronograph? No, not Chronograph. Um, Time Graph or whatever? No. Wait. What is it? Double Iris Magician to add like a Pendulum Graph card. So, this seems insane, except you realize this doesn't have like any good targets to add. So you can add Star Pendulum Graph. Cool, this allows you to add a Magician Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. That doesn't actually do a whole lot. Anyways, Time Pendulum Graph. Whoa, you can activate this card. This card is great. And that's it. Even though you loop like double iris, like if you loop double iris like 10 times, for example, you also have to consider this. You have to run 10 targets. And also, these all have hard ones per turn, so realistically, the only thing you're adding, I believe, is going to be Star Pendulum Graph and then Time Pendulum Graph, so it doesn't get you anywhere. And even if you do grab Star Pendulum Graph, this doesn't really do anything for you, right? It gives you like Magician Pendulum monsters to add to your hand, but I'm pretty sure that effect's not that good. Because if you just consider it, right? You also need to run more Garnets to an extent with this card. Like, for the cards you're adding. I believe the card you're adding is, Performapal Smile Magician or whatever. Then that adds you, like, some more cards, and you summon that off of Selene. But, I mean, considering that this gets, like, stopped by, like, any hand trap as well, pretty much, that's pretty miserable. And you need to open, like, 3 cards to play the game, right? Yeah, it's not that great. Not at all. So you're going second ability is like non-existent, so can't really afford to run like to an extent like as much non-engine as other decks because you're forced to run like a bajillion more monsters than usual, just so you have scales, for example, right? So yeah, going second and even going first to an extent is also still problematic because even if you have combo, it's not like combo that can tank hand traps. So yeah, you can't really fit that many spaces for stuff like Ash Blossom called by. So if you get like Maxied, Shifted, whatever, pretty miserable time overall. And I mean, if we look at like 99%, I'm pretty sure there's like not that many actually super playable Pendulum decks. Like, I mean, there's Super Heavy Samurai, which is kind of Pendulum. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. There's like DD and Abyss Actor. And those are probably like the best ones, I think. Like, Endymion is good at going first. That's it. Not much else to say. Yep. So that's cool. But aside from, I think exactly like Abyss Actor and Abyss Actor DD and Super Heavy Samurai, I don't think there's anything that like can play as remotely or even utilize pendulum mechanics that well. I guess Nimlaria kind of exists, but it doesn't really utilize pend mechanics aside from going to the extra deck face up, which is fine, I guess. But in practice, I think the only ones that are like actually viable are like DD, the sector, and Super Heavy Samurai. So if we look at literally every other pendulum card here, like every single archetype here, yeah, they're all like bad, essentially. And there's some that are just like, okay, we make Fossil Dyna pass, or like Secret Village Fossil Dyna pass, extra fun, right? That that's pretty much it. Yep. That can sum up like pendulum decks, I guess. So we have the decks that are just completely unplayable because of like rule changes or just how they still haven't gotten support like because the rule changes like just screwed them over, like Amorphage and I guess so we have Amorphage and then we have Fleafort and some others, yeah, like Dynamist. So that they just in general just don't function. So we could go over like the nitty-gritty of this, but essentially one of the issues like is that the idea of Dynamis here is that we distribute a bunch of guys with our Rex, and then we can just do that every turn. Except we can't because, like, first off, charge. This doesn't even really work. Uh, unless you were to, I guess, put multiple cards back at the same time. So Dynamis charge is actually mandatory, as you can see here, once per turn. Do you see the word can? No. So like if I have 3 copies of Dynamis charge and then like uh, we have Dynamis Rex go back to the extra deck for whatever reason. Okay, now we have to add Rex using all 3 copies of our charge. Epic. Very epic indeed. So there's no way to like spam out a bunch of Dynamis monsters either because they can't special summon themselves. So just if you think about this, none of these guys actually do anything on field. They might as well be like vanilla monsters on the first turn, right? So let's say I summon like Ankylos and then pass. That's about the turn you can do. Yep, that's it. Because if I were to like have 3 guys in hand, like I have Ankylos, we have like Stegosaur, and then Ceratops. If I were to scale like these two, I can just summon Stegosaur. That's it. And then pass. Or, you know, if I'm feeling edgy, I can just normal summon Stegosaur and just pass if I don't feel like pen summoning it, you know? And that's what you can do with Stegosaur, Ankylos, and like Ceratops in hand pretty much, right? Except I guess Ceratops specifically can special summon itself if you control Dynamis. But this still doesn't really get you anywhere. I think we can Apollosa pass here. If we like normal summon this, special this, make Beyond the Pendulum, grab a different scale. And then I guess we can pen 2, make Apollosa. The Apollosa is still going to get run over, and then we don't have like any good follow-up if Apollosa is destroyed. Then we can draw 1 guy and pen that, I guess, and then pen 1 guy from the extra deck, making a link to, and not much else. So yeah, in general, awful. But I mean, Ignites are actually somewhat okay, I guess, specifically because their interaction with Isolde actually makes them like kind of good, and they just search generically any Fire Warrior monster. So like Isolde doesn't negate pen effects, so you can add a normal monster to use as like a scale. So that's kind of cool, I guess. But the engine is pretty big, the engine requirement for this, so that's kind of the issue with this. But yeah, for the most part, Pendulums are not like really playable. But I mean, a good direction that I think could be taken is if we like got more cards like kind of Arcfiend centric, like as Pendulum effects and then like monster effect. If we had some like fun generics like this to mess around with, that'd be cool, you know? Being able to use this as either like a spell or like a monster is kind of cool. So the Pendulum effect, it's basically just MST. And then with the on-field effect, this can destroy a monster on the field. So it's not like an insane card by any means, but I mean the concept itself is kind of intriguing for like this type of card. Like just generic that's kind of fun to mess around with like that. I think that'd be nice, but just in general. Engine requirements require you to run like way too many cards for the engine. Like you're running a bajillion copies of Upstart and Chicken Game and Endymion because you need to, you won't really have room for you know, like um you won't have room for like just hand traps or board breakers. So going second, it's completely losing. Going first, uh, you're still probably completely losing because you don't have like, well, I mean, you can kind of take on some like hand traps with specifically, I guess like Endymion and Mythical Beasts and all that stuff, right? But like on the other side, right? Even if you're able to tank some hand traps, that's only if you open good enough. But even if you do open good enough, there are cards that are auto lose that you can't do anything about, like activate Maxi, activate Shifter, activate Droll. That's 9 cards right there, where you just completely lose. And there's also losing the coin flip. So yeah, that doesn't sound great. Or not 9 cards, I guess. Shifter is at 2. 8 cards. Not that different though. Just for example though, like with a lot of pen strategies, you'll want to be using your normal summon to add like a card, right? Okay, now let's use Monster Negate Destroy on that card, like normal summon Skullcrab Joker. I activate the effect of literally any negate monster destroy. Okay, cool. What do you do now? Nothing. Guess I lose. We kind of have that going on, you know. A lot of these like older pen decks just don't have, for the most part, like good extenders or other plays aside from like pendulum summoning. So setting up your pendulum summon, you don't have a good way to do that necessarily either, which kind of sucks with how it works now, right? So with how the game currently works, you'll want to like set up a link monster in your extra monster zone, specifically because this is the only way to summon more than one monster from your extra deck. Your face up extra deck, because pendulum monsters go to your extra deck face up. You need multiple like link arrows. So you'd want like link arrows like at least link 2 pointing like down left and down right, or something like that, just pointing to your zones so you can at least pen summon like 2 guys from the extra deck for the most part. And that is kind of a struggle for like a lot of these older archetypes that have yet to get support. So I mean, that can change, I guess. And randomly, I'll just throw this in there. Still, I don't understand why Shifter sends these cards to and getting and it gets them banished instead of them still going to the extra deck face up. So, a little bit miserable on that, but okay. Randomly there are just some like relatively useless pens in some like archetypes. Wait, is there another scale for this? Fujin Hiroko? There might not be, huh? Well, that's random. Super Heavy Samurai, actually, before getting Wakushi and Benkei, you had 2 like pretty awful scales. You have like Super Heavy Samurai General Jade, and then you have Coral. These guys don't really do anything either. They allow you to get an extra attack if your Super Heavy Samurai monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle. Just cool. Not sure how you actually set up pendulum scales that matter because you don't have any pendulum cards. Like the typical pen play is to get your scales, I guess, like, and then link off 2 guys, make a link monster, pen summon like the guys you sent to the extra deck, and then like pen some guys from hand. I guess Super Heavy Samurai does a lot more like pending from hand now. Before I don't really get the point, I guess, yeah. You'd have to summon guys to search those guys, and then what? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So yeah. If we look at DD though, or like Abyss Actor, they're kind of like self-sufficient because they're very archetypal and lock you out of like non-generics. Or I mean, yeah, they lock you into the archetype, so you're locked out of generics. So you have you you have a self-contained like deck that has in general like good effects. So just for example, like DD has some decent special summoning abilities, right? You can summon like Swirl Slime, or use Swirl Slime to summon a fusion. Swirl Slime can then summon another DD from your hand. Lamia can special summon itself by sending a DD from your hand, field, or a Dark Contract. Then like Necro Slime can fusion summon using stuff in your graveyard to special summon a guy. We have like Griffin now, which can special summon itself from the hand. And in general, you have like a bajillion combo. And bonus on this is that we don't have to rely on generic boss monsters as much with like other decks, right? A lot of decks now are going to be relying on all like generic monsters essentially. So notably, like for example, Monadium, every single like end board monster there is going to be like just the random generic. And the only generic you end up with here is probably going to be like just a Baron. So that's it. The rest is DD Inward, which is pretty cool. Prefer that over like a lot of other things. And then like with Abyss Actor Current Razor, you'll just end on Abyss Actor stuff because you're locked into Abyss Actors anyway. And yeah. Just in general, a lot of these decks do complete nonsense. And they're bad because they're not even like, well, I mean, it's not that they're not consistent, it's the engine requirements are dumb, so it becomes a coin flip. So we can boil it down to this. So we have like symphonics here. Yo, wind, machine, crazy. Would you believe me if I said this deck does a lot of Auroradon Turbo? And then Despots, once again, Auroradon Turbo. And then if we look at like Valance, Fossil Dyna, Epic, and then with Reformapal, generic boss monster spam. We're looking at Apollosa, Baron, Borlode, Savage. And then one non-generic, Odd Eyes, Vortex Dragon, as well as the Pendulum Magician, Continuous Trap. That's it. So we at least have Vortex. But I mean, Vortex is kind of a generic. Is it like, yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah. So that's all I got for you guys today. And I mean, what pens need now are like, realistically, we could start by making them a lot better by making it so macro effects don't actually get these cards banished if they should be sent, in my opinion, to the extra deck face up instead. So that's like a decent starting point, and then from there it's like just support in general. Like we don't need generic support like beyond the pendulum. I think it's honestly just better to get like just generic support, or not generic support, non-generic support for like pretty much every single pen archetype needs like generic support for the most part. Like I guess DD and Abyss Actor are kind of fine, you know, Super Heavy Samurai. It doesn't really need anything else. They're fine, right? As is, but like Emberphage, Endymion. We don't talk about Luna like, but yeah, for like actual pen decks and not just decks that randomly have some pens for whatever reason. A lot of these could use support in one way, shape, form, or another, because they essentially do nothing. Or they're just unbelievably outdated, or they're just unplayable now because the engine requirement is just dumb. So unironically, like something like a monkey board isn't even that good now. Somehow. Don't know why this is even at 1. This could be put at 3. Does this not have a hard once per turn? In your main phase, this card was activated this turn, you can add one level 4 or lower performing battle monster from your deck to your hand. Yeah, okay. Literally no idea why this is at 1 and not 3, but okay. It's a hard once per turn. Astrograph being like at 1 because it's hard once per turn. Sure, makes some kind of sense, I guess. Would 3 really change anything though? Would Kieran change anything? I mean, we could unban like every single pen card, I think. Let's see, actually. I'm going to look at specifically the forbidden ones. Okay. And Fire and Kieran. Okay, what does this do? If a Perform Mage... What the hell's a Perform Mage? If a Perform Mage monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your Pendulum zone that take 500 damage. Card once per turn. If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon one Perform Mage monster for your hand or deck, except for Perform Mage Fire. Why is this card even banned? What? Huh? These guys are Perform Mage? So what does this do? If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, then Pendulum effect. If a Perform Mage monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, special summon this card from your Pendulum zone. Why is this card banned? Literally, what does this card do? Kieran, this also doesn't really do anything. This doesn't even have a Pendulum effect. This has a monster effect, where you target a Pendulum monster in your monster zone, and one monster your opponent controls, return them to the hands as quick effect. You can only use this effect of Magic Spectre Unicorn Kieran fired once per turn. While this card is in your monster zone, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. Yeah, this requires your opponent to control one monster. Literally, what is wrong with this card exactly? Huh? But why are these cards banned? Like, you read these cards, and then you read, like, something like a Dimension Shifter. You read, like, Armageddon Knight. And then it's like, okay, but Fire and Kieran. Yeah, these should be banned. Okay, I guess. I didn't even know this card existed, and this kind of hurts my brain to just look at. If you pop this with, like, Electromite, for example, this would allow you to special summon a Perform Mage monster from your hand or deck. I guess. And then, if a Perform Mage is destroyed, we can maybe make a rank 4 with this. I don't think these actually do anything, right? Checking. Yeah. That doesn't seem that useful. If 2 or more monsters are on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. When card effect would inflict damage, you place a counter on this. When the third Perform Mage counter is placed on this card, it becomes 3,300 attack defense. Repeats Magician. During the main phase 1, detach 1, target 1 face attack position monster, return player, controls. Other than this card, it can make a second attack during each battle phase this turn, also destroyed at the end of the battle phase. This card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard. If this card in your position is destroyed by opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Perform Mage monster from your deck. None of these cards do anything. Okay. Well, maybe someone in the comments can explain this to me, why this is banned. Like, probably not why it's banned right now, because I don't see a reason for this to be banned, but alright. I guess that's all I have to say about Pendulum, but yeah. In general, the engine's too big, which can be, like, fixed with just in general support. Like, you can't release, like, generic pen support, though, because that'll just be abused by every deck under the sun, as seen with like Super Heavy Samurai, but yeah, you could mostly just use, you know, some modernization, get some support to like get these cards where they could be, and also that like ruling change so that shifter doesn't bend over like 10 cards would be helpful because what how the game is right now, we could use more decks that are more resistant against shifter just in general, and there are a lot of pen decks. There's not like that many, but just having them not affected makes them like still interesting, right? So for example, we can't do like Promethean Princess, but we'd actually be able to at least somewhat play the game under shifter, right? So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.